All of this, of course, circles on Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has made, Donald Trump he is an obstreperous character. He is not the most polite character in the world. Why do I complain about this? People always say, oh, you're clutching your pearls. No, I complain about it because I know there'll be a price. There is a price to pay. There's a price to pay in this last election. It's now coming down to, we may lose 40 seats in Congress, which is not a blue wave, but it's a bigger wave. Why? Why, when everything's going well? It's all about his impoliteness. It's all about his affect, the way he appears to people. But as I keep saying, it didn't start with Trump. And that is an important difference. It's an important thing for understanding. Maureen Dowd, who I always have maintained some kind of vestigial respect for Maureen Dowd because she stood up during the Clinton scandals when Clinton was diddling his intern, young enough to be his daughter. And she said, no, it's not all right. She actually stood up for her beliefs, which I just respected. And she got a lot of flack. I think she got death threats. She said from the left, it was the left attacking her. Why are you doing this to our president? So she writes this column. This is on Knucklehead Road. Do we have Knucklehead Road? We should play Knucklehead Road. Do we have it? Hit it.
Oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, ho. Let's go waltzing down to Knucklehead Road.
Knucklehead Row, of course, is the op-ed section of the New York Times, a former newspaper. And Maureen Dowd, who is one of the knuckleheadiest of the knuckleheads, even though I do have this, as I say, I have respect for her, she writes, who's the real American psycho? She says, Donald Trump is such a menace that it's tempting to cheer any vituperative critic and grab any handy truncheon. But villainizing Trump should not entail sanitizing other malefactors. Now, what she's saying here is just because other Republicans attack Trump doesn't mean we should like other Republicans. They all stink. Okay. She says war criminals. Who is she talking about? She's talking about George W. Bush. War criminals turned liberal heroes are festooned with book and TV contracts, podcasts, and op-ed purchase. Ooh, we shouldn't allow that. We shouldn't allow those other people to have a voice. Those who sold us the cakewalk Iraq war and the outrageously unprepared Sarah Palin and torture as enhanced interrogation. Those who left the Middle East shattered with a cascading refugee crisis and a rising ISIS, which was Obama, by the way. And those who midwifed the birth of the Tea Party. Ooh, Americans who don't want to spend as much money and don't want to be taxed. Ooh, that's bad. They're washing away their sins in a basin of Trump hate. Okay, so do not forget while you're hating Trump, do not forget to hate the Tea Party and all the other normal Americans who sometimes speak out against them. Just because they speak out against Trump does not mean you should curtail your outrage. Be outraged. You must be outraged. Maureen Dowd goes on, the very same Republicans who eroded America's moral authority in the 2000s are staggeringly being treated as the new guardians of America's moral authority. How can this be? They bellow that Trump is a blight on democracy, but where were these patriots when the Bush administration was deceiving us with a cooked up war in Iraq? Something that never happened, by the way. George W. Bush never deceived anybody into war with Iraq. All he did was tell the American people the intelligence he had, but never mind. The point Maureen Dowd is making is hate Trump, but don't forget to hate all the other Republicans as well, okay? And at least that's honest. They're not saying, oh, this started with Trump. They're saying, we've hated you all this time. It never occurs to her that maybe a Trump is a reaction to all that hatred she was pouring on people. To hate George W. Bush, to call him a war criminal, to say that he lied us into war, is just factually untrue and morally stupid, okay? But this is the way we get this stuff. When I say, what's the problem? Why can't we talk when conservatives and liberals need each other? When we need each other, we need liberals to tell us, oh, this guy isn't being served. We need conservatives to say, all right, let's solve that problem, but let's solve it in our traditional constitutional way. We need that. That is the dance of progress. That's how progress happens. It entails argument, but it doesn't have to entail hatred. What's getting in the way? It's that. It's these people day after day speaking to their base, telling them, don't forget, it's not enough hate. Hey, Donald Trump, it's good that you hate Donald Trump. That's a good thing, but you're not hating enough. You're not outraged enough. You're not mean enough. You're not. And that's how we get this stuff like what's happening to Tucker Carlson, which is a sin and it's disgusting. It is awful. This thing that where they're terrorizing Tucker Carlson. We played the video clip of them outside shouting, "You're not safe. We know where you sleep." And now the people who were at the demonstration are writing in Think Progress. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad when we showed up when his wife and children were, his children are older, but like, they were in the house. Just about a dozen protesters, he writes, we visited. People, we visited Tucker Carlson's home Wednesday evening with signs, a megaphone, and a tambourine. And the megaphone gets a little lost in there. You're standing outside a guy's house. His house, not outside Fox News, not outside some institution. You're standing outside the man's house with a megaphone, but the tambourine makes it okay. He says the incident, video of which was taken offline shortly after being posted, has prompted an aisle-crossing outcry, fueled in part by Carlson's own significant embellishments of what occurred while he wasn't home. I was there for the entirety of the 10-minute demonstration. He goes on making excuses for it. It's hateful. When you do that to someone, that's hateful. That's fascistic. You're terrorizing the guy's family who have nothing to do with it in the first place, and you're demonizing speech. Tucker Carlson talks for a living. There is a button on your TV. It will turn you can make Tucker Carlson disappear. You don't have to terrorize him. You don't have to go to his house. You can make him disappear. So now there's this new story. Michael Avenatti, creepy porn lawyer, Michael Avenatti, has taken on the case. People who hire Michael Avenatti ought to see what happens to his last clients. Taken on the case of Juan Manuel Granados because he says Carlson was berating him at the Charlottesville Farmington Country Club on October 13th. He says a video shows Carlson shouting, "You better get the F out of here," multiple times, while an unidentified man grabs Granados' shirt. He says, "We're investigating." Then he plays the identity card, right? "We're investigating an alleged assault on a gay Latino immigrant." Ooh. Here's what Carlson says happening. He says, "I had dinner with two of my children and some family friends at the country club in Charlottesville, Virginia. So at the end of the meal, my 19-year-old daughter went to the bathroom with a friend. On their way back through the bar, a middle-aged man stopped this 19-year-old girl and asked if she was sitting with Tucker Carlson. My daughter had never seen the man before. She said, 'That's my dad,' and pointed to me. And the man responded, 'Are you Tucker's whore?' and then called her words that I can't repeat, but you can imagine, right? She came back to the table. This 19-year-old girl, this middle-aged man is going after a 19-year-old girl. What happened? What has to go through your head before you do that? What has to go through your head before you do that? What kind of poison is in your mind before a guy my age, or maybe, within 20 years of my age, goes after a 19-year-old girl? Think about it. Think about the toxins that were poured in there by people like Maureen Dowd, by people like our media, telling him hate, 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 hate. This is Hitler. We're in A Handmaid's Tale. This is a disaster. That's what shapes that guy's brain. When she came back to the table, it's Tucker's son, who's also a student, went in and confronted the man. He threw a glass of red wine in his face, and Carlson went in and confronted him. He said, "I love my children. It took enormous self-control not to beat the man with a chair, which is what I wanted to do. And I think any father can understand the overwhelming rage and shock that I felt seeing my teenage daughter attacked by a stranger. This has nothing to do with identity politics. I didn't know the man was gay or Latino. Not that it would have mattered. Of course, it didn't matter." Once you start saying that a point of view, an entire point of view, I mean, it's unlikely. It is unlikely that you have caught hold of the tail of morality. It is unlikely that you are alone have caught hold of the banner of morality, and everybody else who disagrees with you is living in evil and sin. The odds of that happening are just about zero, okay? There are just about no odds that that's true. So once you start saying that, right? Once you start saying that, you're turning yourself into a terrorist. You're turning yourself into a clown who attacks a 19-year-old girl and calls her unrepeatable names. You don't want it to happen to you. It's not the way to a happy life. Beside the fact that you're doing wrong, beside the fact that you're making other people miserable, it is not the way to a good life.